Love, a word so powerful that it has shaped poetry, wars, and entire lifetimes. And probably a few awkward high school dances. But what if you've been mislabeling your feelings all along? Like calling your cat your roommate. Could it be possible that you were never actually in love? Just really, really into pizza? Today, we're diving into 10 signs you were never in love. And trust me, some of these might make you rethink everything. Let's get into it before you text your ex. We've all been there, swept off our feet by someone's charm, looks, or even their aura. It's like being hit by a love truck. It's like biting into what you thought was a chocolate chip cookie and realizing it's raisin. Looks good, but not what you signed up for. Surprise! Science tells us that infatuation is a short-lived burst of dopamine and adrenaline. Basically, your brain's version of a sugar high. According to a study published in the Journal of Neurophysiology, infatuation lights up the reward centers in your brain, much like a drug. Or that third cup of coffee. Love, on the other hand, is more like a steady, comforting cup of tea. No caffeine jitters here. If your feelings faded as quickly as they came, it was likely infatuation, not love. Poof! Like magic. So, if you were hooked like a kid with a sugar rush, you probably weren't in love. Just on a love sugar high. True love isn't just about receiving, it's about giving. And no, giving them the last slice of pizza doesn't count as a grand gesture. Research in social psychology shows that genuine love often involves a concept called companionate love, a mutual sense of care and commitment. Think of it as a two-player game where both players actually have to play. But if your idea of love was them bringing you snacks while you binge Netflix, and you mysteriously forgot to return the favor, well, that's not quite it. Unless you're both in a secret competition for the laziest partner award. Love involves compromise and putting someone else's happiness on par with your own. Yes, even if it means watching their favorite show instead of yours. Remember, if your relationship was a one-person party where only you got to cut the cake, you might want to reassess. Because let's face it, nobody likes a party of one. Love requires vulnerability. And no, I don't mean sharing your Netflix password, although that's a good start. Vulnerability is more like letting someone see your browser history without flinching. Brené Brown, a leading researcher on vulnerability, says that love and connection stem from the courage to be imperfect. And maybe a little bit of courage to show your dance moves. If you kept your guard up or avoided sharing your true self, you likely didn't experience the emotional intimacy that defines real love, or the joy of sharing your embarrassing childhood photos. Vulnerability isn't just about sharing your weaknesses, but also about being open to the possibility of hurt. Like when you admit you still sleep with a teddy bear. If you never took that emotional risk, your connection likely stayed at the "what's your favorite pizza topping" level. And let's be honest, pineapple on pizza is a deal breaker for some. Sometimes it's not the person we're drawn to, but the fantasy of being in love. Psychologists call this idealization, or as I like to call it, Disney syndrome. You know, like thinking you're dating Prince Charming only to realize he doesn't know how to load the dishwasher. Or worse, he thinks it's a magical self-cleaning device. If you've ever caught yourself ignoring red flags because you wanted the relationship to work so badly, you might have been chasing an ideal, not a person. Red flags are not just for soccer games, folks. Love can't flourish in the shadow of unrealistic expectations. It's like trying to grow a cactus in a snowstorm. Keep the fairy tales for bedtime stories. Real love is a little messier, but a lot more rewarding. And hey, at least you won't have to deal with glass slippers. Love is a two-way street, not a one-way ticket to Frustrationville. If your relationship felt more like a one-lane road with you doing all the driving, that's a problem. And no, you're not an Uber driver. According to Dr. John Gottman, a renowned relationship researcher, successful relationships thrive on emotional bids, those moments where we seek connection and respond to each other's needs. Think of it as emotional ping pong. For example, if you kept sending texts like, "How's your day?" and all you got back was, "Fine," you might as well have been texting a brick wall. You might have been dating a wall. And walls don't make great conversationalists. Love thrives on give and take, not give, give, give. Unless you're Santa Claus, that's not sustainable. Obsession often masquerades as love, but it's more like a clingy cat that won't let you sleep rather than a loyal dog that respects your space. It's like binge-watching a TV series and convincing yourself you're learning about life when you're just avoiding reality. Spoiler alert, Netflix isn't a life coach. Research published in Psychological Review explains that obsession stems from anxious attachment. Basically, it's like being a human Velcro. Healthy love gives space for individuality and independence. Think of it as a Wi-Fi connection that doesn't drop when you move to another room. If your feelings were characterized by jealousy, possessiveness, or an inability to focus on anything else, these are hallmarks of obsession. Basically, you were like Gollum with the One Ring. Pro tip: love isn't about turning someone into your personal emotional support human. They're not a therapy dog, folks. Love inspires growth, both individually and as a couple. If your relationship felt stagnant or even regressive, it's a sign that the connection wasn't rooted in true love. Think of love like a houseplant. It needs water, sunlight, and a little TLC. If your relationship was more like a fake plastic fern sitting in the corner collecting dust, it's probably time to reevaluate. Real love pushes you to be better, not just to stay comfortable. So, if your love life feels like a scene from a bad sitcom, it might be time for a rewrite. Feeling lonely while in a relationship is like being at a party and realizing you're the only one who didn't get the memo about the costume theme. It's like ordering a pizza and only getting the box. Talk about a diet plan you didn't sign up for. Research from the University of California, Berkeley, reveals that emotional disconnection, even when physically together, is like being on a tandem bike with someone who's not pedaling. Loneliness in a relationship often stems from poor communication, unaddressed conflicts, or a mismatch in emotional needs. Basically, it's like trying to share a bed with someone who hogs all the blankets. If you felt like you were talking to a brick wall, it's not love. It's a bad investment, like buying a pet rock and expecting it to fetch. If fear of being alone or societal pressure pushed you into the relationship, it wasn't love. It was more like signing up for a marathon because everyone else did, and you hate running. Love should come from a place of mutual desire and connection, not desperation or obligation. Think of it as choosing to share your fries, not because you have to, but because you want to. Staying in a relationship because you're afraid of starting over is like staying in a burning building because you've already paid rent. Spoiler alert, it's not worth it. Real love is chosen freely, not born out of necessity. It's like picking the last slice of pizza because you genuinely want it, not because you're starving. Finally, love often involves envisioning a shared future. You know, like picturing yourselves as that adorable old couple feeding ducks at the park. If the thought of long-term commitment with this person made you uneasy or uninterested, it's a strong sign your feelings weren't rooted in love. Or maybe you just couldn't handle the idea of sharing the TV remote forever. Love naturally leads to planning and dreaming together, whether it's about big goals or everyday moments, like deciding who gets the last slice of pizza. If your vision of the future didn't include them, or worse, included a big TBD, you probably weren't in love, just passing through. Or maybe you were just waiting for a better offer. So were you ever really in love? Or just in love with pizza? Or was it something else, like your Netflix subscription? The truth can be tough to face, kind of like Monday mornings. But recognizing these signs is the first step toward finding genuine love, not just a love for your favorite TV show. Let me know in the comments if any of these hit home for you. Or if you just really love pizza. And remember, love is as much about self-discovery as it is about connection. And maybe a little bit about pizza. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and don't forget to order extra cheese.